He stole from me, gifted it to someone else, and still thought I'd be grateful. Please stay with me as I tell you my story, and please do not forget to support our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing with your loved ones. Everything felt perfect with Jordan, until I opened my banking app and saw $40,000 gone. At first, I thought it was fraud. What I discovered next shattered everything I thought I knew about the man I was supposed to marry. This story isn't just about money. It's about the moment you realize you've been living beside a stranger. That morning started like any other. I was sitting on the couch, sipping coffee, trying to pay rent. I logged into my account like I always do, but something was wrong. My balance was way lower than it should have been. I froze. I refreshed the screen, thinking maybe it was a glitch. But no, it was real. $40,000 gone. My heart started racing. I went straight to the transactions and saw a large transfer to our joint savings account. I didn't make it. My mind started spinning. Had I been hacked? I called the bank, but they confirmed it came from my login. I felt sick. Then I saw the name, Jordan, my fiancé. I asked him about it, still thinking there had to be a good reason. He didn't look sorry. He just said, I needed to help my mum. Like that was enough. Like I should be proud of him for being a good son. I stared at him, waiting for an explanation. He added, she raised me. I owe her everything. That's when I knew this wasn't just a mistake. He had taken that money without asking. Money from my dad's life insurance. The same dad I cried over while telling Jordan I wanted to save for our first home. He knew what it meant to me, and he still did it. He stood there smiling, like he had done something noble, but all I could feel was betrayal. I didn't even know how to respond. That moment changed everything. I wasn't looking at the man I loved anymore. I was looking at a liar who used my trust like it was nothing. It was a normal Monday morning. I got up early, made some tea, and sat down with my laptop to pay bills. I always paid rent on the first of the month, so I logged into my bank account without thinking much. But something felt wrong the second the page loaded. My balance was way off. I blinked, refreshed the page, even closed the app and opened it again. Still the same. I was missing $40,000. My heart started racing. I felt cold all over. I clicked into the transaction history, praying it was just a mistake. But it wasn't. The money had been transferred out, not stolen by some stranger, but moved to our joint savings account. I hadn't done that. I hadn't approved anything. I hadn't even logged in at that time. I couldn't breathe. I grabbed my phone and called the bank, but they told me there was no fraud. The transfer was made using my credentials. It didn't make any sense. I knew I hadn't done it. Then I thought of Jordan. I walked into the living room, holding my phone with the account still pulled up. I asked him calmly, "Did you move money from my account?" He didn't even flinch. He didn't ask what I meant or look surprised. He just nodded and said, "Yeah, I needed to help my mum." Just like that. I stared at him, not sure if I'd heard right. I asked him why he didn't ask me first. He shrugged and said, "She's done everything for me. She raised me alone. I wasn't going to let her struggle." His voice was calm, too calm, like he believed what he did was perfectly okay. My stomach dropped, my hands were shaking, and I had no words. He didn't say sorry. He didn't look guilty. He acted like I should understand, like I should be proud of him for being generous. But all I could think about was how he'd gone behind my back. He took that money, like it belonged to him. And worse, he didn't seem to care that it hurt me. I just stood there, holding the phone, staring at this man who was supposed to be my partner. I trusted him. I shared everything with him. But in that moment, it was like he was a stranger. He even smiled a little, as if I was overreacting. That smile made it worse. It felt like he didn't see the damage, or maybe he just didn't care. I realized then that this wasn't just about money. This was about respect, and mine had been thrown away without a second thought. Later that day, when I finally found the strength to talk to Jordan again, I told him he had to return the money. I was still hoping maybe he'd realize how wrong it was. But instead of apologizing, he looked at me and said, "It's our money now. What's the big deal?" I was stunned. He said it so casually, like it was obvious. I told him the money came from my dad's life insurance. I told him it wasn't something I ever planned to use without serious thought, but he didn't seem to care. He said we were going to get married, so what's his is mine, and what's mine is his. He said I wouldn't have agreed if he'd asked, so he didn't ask. That's when I realized he had planned this. He didn't make a mistake. He didn't act in the heat of the moment. He knew I would say no, so he chose to hide it. I kept asking where the money went exactly. At first, he tried to avoid the question. Then he finally admitted it. He used the money to buy a car for his mother, a brand new white Lexus SUV. My jaw dropped. He said she needed something reliable. He said she deserved to feel appreciated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That car cost tens of thousands of dollars, and he gave it to her like it was nothing. I asked if she knew where the money came from. He didn't answer. I asked if she even said thank you. He said she was thrilled and even posted about it online. I checked her Instagram later. There it was. A big photo of her standing next to the car, smiling, with a pink bow on top. The caption read, "My queen deserves the best. Love you forever, son." I felt sick. He used my money to buy a luxury gift and turned it into a public display, as if he did it all on his own. No mention of me. No respect for what that money meant. No thought about how it would affect our future. It felt like he wanted to play the hero, even if it meant betraying me in the process. I didn't know how to react anymore. Every time I asked a question, he had an excuse. Every answer made me feel smaller, like my feelings didn't matter. He acted like it was a done deal, and I was just making drama. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of something much worse. I needed answers, so I decided to go see Jordan's mom in person. I didn't go there to start a fight. I just wanted to talk. I thought maybe if she understood the situation, she would help me fix it, but I was wrong. When I arrived, she welcomed me with a fake smile. I told her I wanted to talk about the car. Her face changed right away. She folded her arms and leaned back, like she was ready for a fight. I asked her if she knew the money came from my account. She didn't deny it. In fact, she didn't seem surprised at all. She said, "You should be proud your man takes care of his family." I was shocked. There was no apology, no concern, just that one sentence, like it explained everything. I tried to stay calm. I told her the money wasn't his to give, that it came from something personal and painful. She cut me off and said, "Jordan told me you always act like it's all about you." Those words hit me hard. I didn't understand where they were coming from. I asked what else he had said, and she didn't hold back. She said he told her I didn't care about his family, that I only cared about money, and that I treated him like a child when it came to decisions. I felt my chest tighten. I had never said or done any of those things. I always tried to include him. I supported him. But it was clear. He had been talking behind my back, making me look like the villain. When I got home, I confronted him. I told him what she said, and instead of denying it, he just shook his head and said, "You always take things too far." I couldn't believe it. He turned everything around and made me feel like I was the one causing the problems. He said I was being dramatic, that it wasn't like I was struggling for money, and that I should let it go. He told me I was overreacting, and that I needed to think about the bigger picture. It felt like I was losing my mind. Every time I tried to explain how I felt, he twisted it. He made me question myself. Was I being too emotional? Was I really overreacting? I started to feel alone, like I couldn't trust my own thoughts. I wasn't just angry anymore. I felt completely alone. And that was worse than anything else. After everything that happened, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the money, about how easily Jordan dismissed me, and how his mum looked at me like I was the problem. I felt angry, hurt, and completely helpless. But I knew I had to do something. I wasn't going to let this go. The next day, I called a lawyer. I didn't know what my options were, but I needed to understand if I had any legal ground. I brought all my documents, bank statements, account details, and everything I could find about the transfer. The lawyer listened carefully and asked a few questions. After reviewing everything, she told me something I wasn't ready to hear. The account was technically joint. Jordan's name was on it, so legally, he didn't steal the money. But she also said it didn't mean what he did was right. The money clearly came from my father's life insurance payout, and I had the proof. It had been deposited just a few months ago. Hearing her say it out loud made my stomach turn. That money wasn't just a number. It was all I had left from my dad. I started remembering the night I told Jordan about it. I had been crying. I told him how much it meant to me, how I wanted to use it for something that mattered, like buying our first home together. He held me close that night. He said he understood. He even promised to protect it. But now I knew. That promise was empty. He didn't protect anything. He waited. And when the time was right, he took what wasn't his and used it to play the role of the perfect son. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a bad decision. It was selfish. It was planned. That night, I stopped crying. I stopped begging him to understand. Something inside me changed. I didn't want to fight anymore. I wanted a plan. If he could be cold enough to do this, I had to be smart enough to protect myself. I started thinking differently. I began writing things down. Every conversation, every bank statement, every message. I looked into moving my money. I checked my credit. I stopped telling him everything. I stayed calm on the outside, but inside, I was preparing. This was no longer about saving a relationship. It was about saving myself, and I was done waiting for him to do the right thing. After talking to the lawyer, I knew I couldn't trust Jordan anymore, but I also knew I had to be careful. If I wanted to protect myself, I couldn't let him know what I was thinking, so I decided to act like I had forgiven him. I told him I had been emotional, and that I understood why he helped his mum. I said maybe I overreacted, and that I wanted us to move forward. He looked so relieved. He smiled, hugged me, and said he was glad we were finally getting back to normal. He had no idea I was pretending. From that day, I started playing along. I didn't bring up the money anymore. I didn't argue or question him. I let him believe everything was fine. He even started talking about the wedding again. He wanted to look at venues, choose a date, and make guest lists. I smiled and nodded, acting like I was excited. But behind the scenes, I was doing the opposite. I opened a new bank account that only had my name on it. I started moving money from our joint account, small amounts at first, so he wouldn't notice. I also changed my passwords and added security questions that only I could answer. Every time he said something about money or the future, I took mental notes. Sometimes I even recorded our conversations, just in case I needed proof later. I also went through every document we had: loans, credit cards, bills. I started checking my credit score every week. I wanted to make sure he wasn't using my name for anything else. The more I checked, the more I realized I had to stay ahead of him. I stopped sharing personal things with him. I became more quiet, more careful. But on the outside, I was the same loving fiancé he thought he had. He had no clue I was preparing for something else entirely. He would sit next to me on the couch, talking about honeymoon plans or baby names, and I would nod along, knowing deep down that none of it was going to happen. Not the wedding, not the future. He had already broken that with his choices. Every move I made now was to protect myself. I wasn't going to let him trap me in something I couldn't get out of. He thought he was in control, but I was the one with the real plan now. I just had to wait for the right time. As I kept pretending everything was fine, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. Jordan would sometimes leave his phone unlocked, and when he did, I quietly looked through it. One night while he was in the shower, I saw messages that made my stomach drop. He had been texting his ex. Not just friendly messages, real conversations. They had been talking for months. He told her things like, "I miss how simple things were with you," and "she's always so serious now." I took screenshots and emailed them to myself. I didn't react. I didn't say a word. I just added it to the growing file I was building. A few days later, I got a call from my credit card company. They said there was a large payment recently made to a car dealership. I knew I hadn't used my card for anything like that. When I asked for more details, they told me it was used for a down payment on a Lexus. That's when everything started to make sense. Jordan didn't just use my money from the bank. He also used my credit card. I pulled up the records and saw the charge was made the same day he surprised his mum with the car. I felt sick. He had never asked me. He didn't even tell me afterward. I called the dealership, pretending to be interested in my own account. That's when they mentioned a loan, in both our names. He had used my information to co-sign the rest of the payment. That's when I knew this went beyond betrayal. This was identity abuse. I checked my credit report and saw the damage. My score had dropped. There was a loan I never agreed to. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling like my life had been taken out from under me. He didn't love me. He loved what I could offer. Money, security, a clean record. He needed someone stable so he could live without consequences. I was just the one who trusted too easily. From that point on, I started recording everything. Calls, messages, conversations. I saved receipts, printed statements, backed up emails. I wasn't just preparing to leave. I was building a wall of proof. I needed to make sure that when I walked away, I could protect myself completely. Every new thing I found made it clearer. Jordan had built his life on lies, and I had been the one paying for all of it. Jordan's birthday was coming up, and he planned a big dinner to celebrate. He invited friends, family, even some co-workers. He booked a fancy restaurant and acted like it was a special night for both of us. I knew the truth, though. He paid for it all using what was left of my money. The same money he had taken without asking. I didn't say anything. I smiled and helped him get ready. He thought everything was perfect. He had no idea what I was about to do. When we arrived at the restaurant, people were laughing, eating, and giving him gifts. He gave a little speech about how lucky he was and how much he appreciated everyone. I sat quietly, waiting for the right moment. When dessert was being served, I stood up. At first, no one noticed. Then I cleared my throat and said I had something to share. The room went silent. Jordan looked confused, but he smiled nervously like it was a surprise toast. It wasn't. I took out a folder from my bag. I opened it and pulled out printed copies of bank statement, credit card reports, and the loan documents. I also had my phone connected to a speaker. I played a recording of him admitting he took the money without asking because he knew I would say no. Then another clip, him saying it was our money now. People started whispering. His mother looked pale. I held up screenshots of the text messages between him and his ex. I explained how he used my credit, how he damaged my score, and how he never even told me about the loan. I didn't raise my voice. I just read everything out loud. His mum stood up and suddenly collapsed. Someone rushed to help her. Jordan looked frozen. He tried to say something, but nothing came out. His face turned red and his hands shook. He stammered, trying to deny it, but the proof was in front of everyone. No one backed him up. Friends who used to support him looked away. His aunt whispered something to her husband and left. Even his closest friends looked embarrassed. I didn't stay long after that. I walked out while people were still talking, and Jordan was still standing there, not knowing what to say. I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I just walked away, knowing this part was finally over. That same night after the dinner, I left and didn't look back. I already had a bag packed and a place to stay. I waited until he was asleep and quietly walked out. I didn't want another argument. I didn't owe him anything anymore. The first thing I did was call the bank early the next morning. I told them to freeze all our joint accounts. I explained the situation and made sure he couldn't move or touch any more money. Then I opened a new account under my name only and started transferring what I could. Next, I called the credit card company to report the charges he made without telling me. They began reviewing everything. I also requested copies of all recent statements and flagged the loan he took using my name. I couldn't believe how much damage he had caused behind my back. After that, I went to the police station and filed a report. I explained how he used my personal information to take out a loan and charge my card. The officer listened carefully and asked for all my documents. I gave them copies of everything, the loan papers, bank records, and my notes. They confirmed it was identity theft and opened an investigation. I blocked Jordan on my phone and email. I didn't want him contacting me. I also made sure a few trusted people around me knew what was going on in case he tried to reach out through someone else. I just wanted distance. I needed space to breathe. At first, some people were shocked that I left so suddenly. A few even asked why I didn't try to fix things, but after I quietly explained what had happened, they began to understand. People who had once taken his side slowly changed. They told me I had done the right thing. Some apologized for doubting me before. It was hard to hear, but I appreciated their honesty. A few weeks later, I found out that Jordan lost his job. I didn't celebrate, but I wasn't surprised. What he did affected more than just me. Once the police started asking questions, everything began to fall apart for him. The truth always catches up. I focused on rebuilding my life. It was hard, and there were days I felt angry or tired, but I kept going. I stayed quiet, stayed focused, and took it one step at a time. What mattered most was that I had taken back control. I no longer felt trapped. I wasn't afraid. I was finally moving forward on my own terms. Months passed, and life slowly started to feel normal again. I moved to a new city, far from everything that reminded me of the past. I found a small apartment, a steady job, and a quiet routine. I even adopted a grey cat and named him Atlas. He never left my side and made the lonely days a little easier. My credit score was slowly improving. I stayed on top of every payment and checked my reports often. The damage Jordan caused wasn't going to disappear overnight, but I was doing everything I could to fix it. I felt stronger with each passing week. One afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. There was no return address, but I recognized the handwriting. It was from Jordan. I didn't open it. I didn't need to read anything he had to say. Whatever apology or excuse was inside, it no longer mattered to me. I dropped it into the trash without a second thought. Later, I wrote down everything that happened, not with names or personal details, but just the story. I posted it on a forum where people shared real-life experiences. I didn't expect much from it, but sharing it felt like closing a chapter. I later heard that the car he bought for his mother was taken back by the bank. It was never fully paid for and the loan defaulted. Somehow that felt like quiet justice. My life now is mine alone. No lies, no fear. I wake up each day knowing I made it through the worst, and I'm not looking back. Do you think I made the right choice by walking away from Jordan after everything he did, or should I have opened his letter and given him a chance to explain? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. And if you enjoy true stories filled with betrayal, healing, and a touch of revenge, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss what comes next.